Hello one, hello all, it's the bluest ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Schoolboy Q, Blue Lips. TDE's own California rapper, Schoolboy Q, is back, and it's certainly been a while since we've last heard from him, given how his last album, Crash Talk, came out in 2019, but I truly believe, up until this point, he has not put out anything that has met the standard of Oxymoron, that had a lot of bangers on it, wild, aggressive delivery, very ambitious when it came to production, and even introspective at points. And there were tracks that were genuinely moving. So with Blank Face being as boring and underwhelming as it was, although I do give it credit for its ambition and going a little above what we normally would get from Schoolboy Q. Because for me, I felt like there was really no development with the production, although it was versatile as opposed to what he normally puts out. And then there was Crash Talk that was just painfully average. And although he did come with personality on there, I almost felt like there was a somewhat of a regression back to habits and contradictions and setbacks. So I could happily say, after giving this album numerous listens, Schoolboy Q is really back in his bag and being ambitious once again, even more introspective than he's ever been, and bringing a lot more grit and better songwriting this time around, and dare I say a bit more focus. Even though I did feel the track like Yearn 101 was a good single on its own, I felt in the context of the album it didn't really match up in comparison to the other bangers that are on this album. But I did dig the eccentricity, the speedy, folky delivery. I just do wish the production didn't really sound as buried and had more punch and more presence, and also had more of a solid finish. And the track Lovebirds, however, has this gorgeous, soulful sample that transitions into this booming bass and tribal percussion. It really starts to set some tones with this album, how on a lot of these tracks, you're gonna get like these beautiful, enchanting, soulful type beginnings, and then go into this very bizarre and almost aggressive territory, which I dig and I think is fantastic. And speaking of aggression, we definitely get some very in-your-face bangers on this album, where we get the unhinged schoolboy we all know and love that brings even more grime and grit than we got on Oxymoron, but with different style production, where I do feel he's really at his best. Not to say he's a slouch on the introspective tracks, he's not, but the manic track, Pop, featuring Rico Nasty, has these intense, nightmarish, funky guitar lines, hefty bass with some wobbly strums that sound like I'm getting the combination of Black Sabbath meets the Funkadelics meets T-Pab, with these psychotic, distant screams from both artists on this track. And Rico's verse is so aggressive, so in your face. And yes, you could say there's redundancy with her just saying pop, 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 but the passion and the energy she puts into this, I feel only she could do. Like, only she could be right for this verse, only to deliver a killer one after. Or Pig's Feet, where if you listen to lyrics, it's really no secret what this track is about, with a very hard-hitting hook. What we do? Cop down. What we do? Cop down. And with the ongoing corruption and police brutality, it's really no surprise that these lyrics will be as aggressive as they are. And as I alluded to before, I love the chanted hook on here, with the absolute infuriating passion that Schoolboy is giving on here, with this nightmarish Asian style production. And speaking of production, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of transitions on this album. Sometimes to a fault though, like on the track Ohio, where we get a dope verse from Freddie Gibbs. I just wish it was a little longer and there was a humorous academics line. And given their history, it's no secret to why Freddie Gibbs would want to go at him in this way. But with the way these transitions are placed and with certain segments in the middle, it sounds pretty disjointed. But I will say the combination of the heavenly soulful intro to the rambunctious transition do go over a lot better in other tracks on this album, like on Thank God For Me, that opens up with these beautiful, serene woodwinds, then goes into this down south, dirty, blaring horn sample of Project Pat and LaChat's Chicken Head. And if you're from the 90s, you should know that song. And then switch right back into it, but introducing these crispy trap drums. And also Schoolboy is a lot more substantive on these tracks this time around. And I would say he's showing not only more consistency, but better production. Great production, actually. Like on Blueslides, where he's showing his observations of his own mental health in this philosophical, poetic way, where he's showing a lot more vulnerability here from taking on other people's problems and it being emotionally draining for him. Over these dreamy pianos, this lavish string section, and there's also hooks of a request for Kamala Harris to free the homies, and given her history, unfortunately, she probably put most of them there. And yes, we have to address this one bar that's on the track about saying they tried to cancel, and I'm like, homie, nah. We were screaming mental health, now we saying kill them all, which, although the name is censored, it's pretty much out of suspicion that he could be talking about Ye, which I hope not. I hope not. I am not a praying man, but I hope not. And also this time around, we are getting more daring production on here. I will say, like, even though I may not be a fan of every Schoolboy Q album, I could say he has impressed me with stylistic production changes. And this time around, I would say he does it even better, like on the track Foux, that has this jazzy intro with these woozy pianos, with these ghostly harmonies, and a rush of these break beats. It's like one piece is drumless, the other piece is just rapid in your face, as he shares his inner struggles once again with drugs, losing faith, falling out of love, with probably one of the catchiest hooks on here, or at least next to the catchiest hook, with the song First. And I also gotta mention the stellar appearance from TDE's own Ab-Soul. And I would say things get even trippier on the nocturnal psychedelic banger First, with these blaring horns that just sound so sinister over this booming bass that goes into these aggressive shouted vocals that deliver yet another catchy hook, making this another banger, that follows up with this ethereal psychedelic passage that does read to me a little bit as Travis Scott, but with Schoolboy's own twist to it. I will say, with these psychedelic passages and these experimental moments, it really does capture the essence and the magic that Blankface lacked immensely. But I will say, admittedly, not every moment of psychedelia is fireworks. But I only say that due to the lack of development on the song Nunu, where I was hoping for a solid ending. I was hoping it would complement something that was on this album. But I will say we, for the most part, get a solid last leg of this album, where Schoolboy Q does have a choice of words for each parent, with his dad with these aggressive, resentful bars towards him, saying how he's jealous of his success, he's broken a bum, his father doesn't want to see him succeed. While on the latter, the track to his mother, he has nothing but endearment for her, and he loves her and considers her his superhero. Aww. But I will say though, the album does end off pretty uneventful with a weird, lovey type song with a weird bar saying Kim K to his Kanye. He does know that didn't end well, right? But aside from that, I will say this is definitely Schoolboy's best, and given how much I enjoyed Oxymoron, I feel like if Schoolboy Q does consistently push the envelope, pack less filler with his album, and really go more the distance, really create something that's just this psychedelic ride that brings the amount of grit, the amount of introspection, and the amount of consistency that this album had, I think he could make something great. But for the most part, aside from some underdeveloped tracks and tracks that pretty much meander, I do think there's a lot of great moments on here. I do think there's a lot of great tracks on here. And yeah, definitely a step up for Schoolboy on this, and definitely his best since Oxymoron. I'm feeling a 3.5 out of 5 Black Hearts on this album. But if you've given this a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And that's it. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, Schoolboy Q, Blue Lips. Till we meet again.